Hello, I'm Coach Christian, and I help extremely stressed people to deal with their stress. Now, every day I usually make one video. I make one video every single day that answers a question that will help you to deal with the stress in your life. And so, without wasting much time, let's go into today's question, the question of the day. And here is the question of the day. Someone asks, Coach Christian, how do I deal with failure? Coach Christian, how do I deal with failure? This is obviously a good question because failure is a part of life, right? We all experience it at different times. I mean, in the school system, you probably failed an exam at some point, or maybe you've ever tried something and failed. You tried to cook a meal and it was a total disaster. No one liked it. Or you organized an event and nobody showed up for the event, right? That can be very frustrating. So the question is, like, I mean, this inevitable failure that always happens in life, how do I deal with it? Right? Well, what do I do? Right? What do I do when what do I do with all this failure? Right? When I find myself in a situation where I failed, that's the question. Well, the key is to understand first of all, right? What is failure? If you look carefully, you'll realize that failure occurs when you try to do something and it doesn't happen the way you want it to happen, right? This is what we are calling failure. I tried to study for this test and I failed, right? I tried to study for the test. I wanted to get, in order to get an A, but I got a B. Okay, I failed. Um, I tried to make this relationship work. I expected it, I wanted it to work, but the relation didn't work, so I failed. Right? This is what failure is. It's you try to do something, but things don't turn out the way you want them to turn out. And so, I mean, most people are this way, so that now our well-being is determined by whether things turn out the way we want them to or not. So, if things turn out the way you want them to be, you're happy. If things don't turn out the way you want them to be, you're unhappy, right? And so basically your inner state is being controlled by external events. If you study for the test and get an A, yay, you're happy. And the flip side is you study really hard and you don't get the A on the test, now you're sad because you failed. So notice that the reason, right? So what you're worried about is not really failure. You're not worried about failure. What you're worried about is how failure makes you feel. That's really the issue here, right? So, I mean, and you've even had situations where things did not go the way you wanted them to, and you didn't mind. You must have had some of those moments at some point, right? Maybe situations where ordinarily you'd be really pissed off, really sad, really angry, but for some reason you didn't care, right? So, in that case, the failure wasn't a problem. The failure itself is not a problem. The problem is the feeling that you get from certain failed moments when things don't turn out the way you want them to be, right? So basically, what we're saying here is that if, let's say, you could take care of the feeling itself, the feeling that results from failure, let's say you could take care of that feeling. Um, let's say, after when something doesn't go the way you want it to, let's say under those conditions that you're able to, let's say, still be joyful or calm, right? Then failure would not be an issue, right? And this is really what we want, is we want to get to a point where, um, I mean, unless you want to be controlled by external events, right? But if you look deeply, you don't, right? Why would you want your emotional state to be determined by an external event? When things go my way, I'm joyful. When things don't go my way, I'm sad, right? This is like you're letting external events manipulate you, right? If someone does what I want them to do, I'm joyful. If someone doesn't do what I want them to do, I'm not joyful. If someone, in the case of what I'm doing now, right? So I'm running a business. So if someone likes my video, I'm happy. If someone dislikes my video, I'm not happy. Right? If someone subscribes, joins my mailing list, I'm happy. When they unsubscribe, I'm not happy. Right? This is a recipe for misery, right? Um, because look, we're not really in control of external events. I mean, we have some control, but the reality is you have very little control over external events. Because, I mean, internal events, you have control over them because there's only one factor involved. Internal events, I mean your emotions. You are the primary cause of your emotions, joyful ones or miserable ones. This is something that's in your control. However, when it comes to how others feel, how others act, events or activities in the external world, there's so many factors involved. There's other people involved. There is many things just outside of your control. Right? Like think about what it takes to, I don't know, man, like for your business to succeed. Some factors are in your control, but a lot of them are not. The market is not in your control. The technologies that come up is not in your control. How much money, I don't know, man. The economy is not really in your control. Um, I don't know. Just there's so many factors out of your control, right? And if you're letting your joy or misery be determined by these external events, then you're gonna suffer a lot, right? And actually, here's the key problem: is that whenever like when external events control our emotional state and make us happy, there's no problem, right? So for example, if let's say I try out something, I try a new product launch for my business and it succeeds, now I'm happy. I don't mind the fact that the success has triggered a happy state in me. I don't mind that. I don't even see it as being controlled by the event. So I like it when external events cause positive feelings in me. The problem I have is when external events cause negative feelings in me. But you see here, it's like the first realization is that what you don't want is to have external events controlling your emotional state at all, be they positive or negative, right? Because it's still the same phenomenon. It's like it's still an external event. Like the product launch succeeded, and now I'm feeling positive and excited. It's really the same process. Uh, it's the same. If you look at it, it's like the process by which an external event is making me joyful. If you look at that process, it's gonna be the same as the process by which an external event is making me miserable, right? So basically, if I want to deal with this problem, I can't just embrace the positive part when my emotions are controlled in a way I like. I can't just accept that and then let go of the part when my emotions are controlled by uh, in a way that I don't like, because it's the same problem, it's the same phenomenon, right? So it's kind of like think of it as a, I mean, one way to think about it is a prison. It's like a prison of pleasure, a pleasurable prison. And here's what I mean. It's like you're in prison, but the prison feels so good you don't realize you're in prison, right? Imagine that. Like we give you a big house, we give you a nice villa, we give you all sorts of servants, everything, and it's so pleasurable. I mean, you have like if you're a guy, you have all the women coming in, beautiful women. You have all the sex you want. Everything's just going fantastic, right? But maybe if we find out that that villa is surrounded by a very huge fence, right? It's really a prison. You maybe you're not allowed to get out of. It's like imagine like let's say a palace, right? Palace kind of setting, but you're not allowed to get out of it. So you're surrounded by, let's say you're fenced in, but I mean, you're not really realizing that you're in a prison because you're having so much fun. There's so many distractions, so many beautiful women, so many great movies, so many friends coming to visit, you see. Just because it's pleasurable doesn't mean it's not a prison, right? Because I mean, the fact is you can't get out. You're limited by you've been fenced in, right? And the fact, if the prison were unpleasant, if the prison were unpleasant, then you'd want to get out. If, let's say, you are in the house and you are being punched in the face, beaten all the time, there the desire to get out will be there. But if they make it very pleasurable, maybe you want to stay there forever, right? So this is kind of a trick, and it's the same thing that's happening here. You have an external event that's controlling you. That's the prison, is that external events actually determine your emotional state. In the case of failure, it's clear you don't want to be controlled by external events. That's why you're asking me, I want to know how to deal with failure. I don't want to be this way. However, when the prison is pleasurable, when now you're being controlled by an external event but it's making you happy, you forget that you're in prison. This is the first part of the problem. So, well, what's the key to do here? Is the key is to understand, right? There's really nothing else you can do but to look and observe in the moments when you fail, observe how you're generating fear, sorry, how you're generating pain and misery within yourself. That's one aspect of it. The other aspect is this: in the moments when an external event has triggered some pleasurable feelings in you, realize that you're also in prison and observe that, right? Because it's the same process. Like, there is no way you're going to be free from this pain of failure if you're also holding on to it in the form of pleasure, right? So I don't know if this is if this is making any sense to you, but that's the first step. Is the other thing to realize is this: as we're saying before, the failure, uh, what you're worried about is the feeling that the failure gives you. The thing to notice is that this feeling, this negative, sad feeling, depressed feeling you get after having failed, is not caused by the external situation. That is caused by you. The external situation sure is a trigger, but you generate misery within yourself. And the way we know this is that, have you ever been in a moment when you shouldn't be happy? In a moment when everything is going bad? Have you ever had a moment when you failed, but instead of becoming sad, you ended up like bursting into laughter and you're like, I shouldn't be laughing. This is terrible. Right? Probably you've had such a moment. And what such moments tell you is that the failure doesn't cause your internal state. Your internal state is caused by you. And this is good news, knowing that your misery and the sadness that is generated from a failure is caused by you and not the failure. Because what this means is that if you pay a little attention to how you feel in the moment when you failed, and I'm not saying analyze, just pay attention to the emotions, the thoughts that are running through your mind. If you pay attention to this, you learn about how you're generating misery within yourself. And of course, every such observation will make you better able to create the kind of state that you want. Because, I mean, if you look at it on the flip side, right? If you look at it on the flip side, actually, failures are very important, very useful if you think about it, right? Because really, the way we improve is via mistakes. If I don't know what's going wrong, there's really no way to improve. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. What failure does is that it tells you that what you're doing is wrong, right? This doesn't work. If I launch a product and it falls flat on its face, then I learn that I'm doing something incorrect. What I'm doing doesn't work. Maybe I'm in the wrong industry. I don't know. But the failure is actually an indicator. Right? Things didn't go the way I wanted them to go. Right? Because there is something that I didn't do correctly. Now I have the possibility of changing, you see. So if you look at it carefully, failure is actually a tool. Right? It's your friend. It's helping you to improve and get to where you need to get. However, you can only really take advantage of failure if you're able to not let it put you down, right? And the way you don't let it put you down is by paying attention to your thoughts and emotions and becoming more stable, right? And becoming more stable, being able to take a failure and still continue, take a failure and not be completely crushed, right? Because, of course, if a failure happens and you become totally crushed and you become totally depressed, well, of course, you're not going to learn anything from it. Or if you quit, then of course, you're not going to be able to make progress. You're not going to be able to hit your goal, right? So the key is you want to be stable, isn't it? So that when failures come to you, I think this part is easy to understand. When failures come to you, you don't let them put you down. The part that's a little difficult to understand is that when successes come to you, you don't also let them take you up. You're a stable person, you're balanced, right? You don't let external events, success or failure, control your behavior or how you feel, right? Okay, so we've gone very deep into this, I think. um Now, if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer, just in the description of this video, please ask the question and I'll be able to, maybe I'll feature it in an upcoming video. And if you liked the ideas that I was sharing and you want to learn more, like I said, I publish videos every single day answering a question and the videos are designed to provide you with tools that you can use to deal with your stress by observing it for yourself. So if you like this video, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification. Ding, 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 ding. This will notify you whenever I publish a new video. All right. So, I mean, and just here's the final thing. If you've loved the ideas that I've been sharing and you want to learn more about the observe approach, how do I observe my failure? Right? How do I observe the feelings? How do I become more balanced, more stable, so that I'm not swept away by intense, like, not like, I mean, my internal state is not hijacked by failure. It's also not hijacked by success. How do I do that? If you want to know more, then just go again in the description of this video. There's a link to something called the Observe Approach. If you click on that, you'll get free and instant access to a simple but very powerful method that you can apply immediately to deal with any problem that is stressing you out. All right, and this is the final one. I work as a relationship coach. So if right now, for instance, maybe you've experienced a tremendous failure in your relationship, or you're reaching a point where you have the feeling that this relationship, let's say you have the feeling that you want to end the relationship because things are going so bad, or you have the fear that your partner is going to end the relationship. If you're in such a situation, then I'm offering a free, for limited time only, I'm offering a free relationship rescue coaching session, right? In this coaching session, we'll get a crystal clear vision of the kind of happy relationship you want. We'll figure out precisely what is stopping you from having that relationship, right? What is making your relationship break down? And you leave the session renewed, re energized, and inspired to transform this relationship or end it, right? So, if you would like to find access to this free relationship rescue coaching session, then again, just in the episode description, there's a link to contact me. So just click on the contact link and send a message to me or anyone in the Observe team, letting them know, right? You just send a message saying that you want to take advantage of this relationship rescue coaching session. All right. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye.